Hello, my name is Jessica Buck. I was reading to you a quote from Haim Ginott. I like to study him on the subject of pedagogy. He's really inspirational to me. Which brings me to our agenda for today. Today I'm going to talk about a classroom environment and how we can make the most of it. So let's go! I think one of the first things we think of when we think of a classroom environment is what it looks like, what's on the walls, how I decorate my classroom. That's whatever I thought when I first thought of a classroom environment, but it's actually much more than that. There's a physical classroom environment as well as what I like to call the classroom climate or atmosphere that you create within it. Both are equally important in the running a classroom and helping your students learn. So we need to pay close attention to both of them so we can help our students learn at their full potential. Now, before I break down the physical and the physical environment and the climate, I want to talk about what a classroom environment should be. And I think I can kind of sum it up into 4 things it should be. And that is the climate should be enriching, it should be safe, it should be stable, and it should be respectful. No matter if you're talking about the emotional atmosphere or the physical classroom itself, it needs to follow those 4 things in order for students to learn at their best. So the physical environment, that's how your classroom looks. I'm not really a cutesy person, but that doesn't mean my classroom can't be used as a tool or a source or a resource for the students. So that's one approach to it. You can make it comfortable in its kind of look. Does it look warm and welcoming? Are there resources on the wall? These resources are as good as you promote them. I mean, if I never talk about something on the wall, my kids aren't going to read it. So it's not kind of that thing. If you can make it into a tool, I don't optimize that. But it is possible for some teachers, like they'll have their bulletin boards and they'll refer to it every day and the students know, hey, there's that thing and it helps me. So that's just using the physical environment as a tool. You can provide comfort and just safety within this environment as well. You want your students to go in here and know that I cannot be in harm's way, because if they have a fear that they're threatened, then obviously they're not going to be focusing on learning. They're going to worry about their survival needs first. So things like the door being locked, knowing that intruders can't come in, there's those simple basics to it. But along with that, having a stable environment in the physical classroom also means having procedures and expectations, like as something as small as going to sharpen a pencil or get a tissue. If there's a procedure in place, if there's an expectation, that kind of provides that stability. So your students, you'll avoid chaos that way. They know what to do, what it looks like, there's no distractions and that sort of thing. So in the physical environment, make it safe, make it comfortable, and make sure you are always following your classroom procedures and expectations. So they know what it looks like. There's never going to be chaos within it. Now, whenever we talk about the classroom climate, I like to think of that more as like an atmosphere or the feeling in the room, the energy in the room. It's your attitude, not just yours, but the student to teacher and student to student. How you respect each other, how you communicate with each other. That is what I think determines the climate within your classroom. And as I said before, with the physical environment, the first thing you need is that stability and expectations, knowing how to respond to students. You have to teach them that. I have these, someone shared them with me when Teachers Pay Teachers, and I can't remember the woman's name, but they're great. They're accountable talk bookmarks. And going through those with students was definitely worth the time, because it shows you how to respond appropriately to different situations, because they don't know. I feel like sometimes my 3rd graders come in and they have trouble, I guess, thinking for themselves, not because they can't, they just haven't really practiced it. So I want them to be articulate and I want them to be respectful when they articulate. So having those little bookmarks, the accountable talk starters, really help with that. So we know we never just say you're wrong or that's dumb or something like that. You always have, I disagree with you because, or I agree with you because. That's Mrs. Buck's favorite word, is because. And those kind of things help kind of make that respectful culture. And then it also falls back on you, the teacher. Think, I'm constantly being watched by 19, 8, 9-year-olds, and they are looking to how I respond to a student who's incorrect to know how they should respond. If I say, did you even pay attention? Did you even read? they're gonna have that same reaction. You need to model for them that respect. They need to see it from you first. How can you expect them to respect each other if you don't respect it and you don't model it every day for them? So you have to show that. You are the teacher. You're the one that starts this, okay? It's going to continue on into the playground. You think if a kid picks up on it, the teacher doesn't like this, that the other students are going to want to befriend that kid? No, and that's going to make school a horrible place for them. And I want my students to want to come to school because I have no effect if they don't show up. So having that environment and that climate where they are relaxed and they're safe in what they say, they're going to want to come. They're going to feel comfortable enough to learn. Now here are some things that I do that, these work for me, first of all. They won't work for everybody. Every teacher is different. There's no cookie cutter way to teach. There's no cookie cutter way to learn. This is what works best for me and things that I've done to create a positive environment for my students. The first thing I do is very simple. I allow them to eat and bring snacks. I know some teachers are opposed to pests, but it doesn't bother me. They know what kind of snacks they're allowed to have, like just simple snacks. And I know that if my student is fed and not hungry, they're gonna learn. They like it because they feel special. And by the way, it only lasts for like a week and a half and then it's old and they don't like make a big deal out anymore. So if you can just survive that week and a half, it's a really good climate for them because, hey, I can eat in here and I can be comfortable and meet that survival need. Another thing I do is I provide breaks. I love breaks and I work better if I have a break. And also it's ridiculous to expect a child to sit for 90 minutes and absorb. I don't care how good you are, a student cannot take in information for 90 minutes straight. Like they just can't. Their attention span won't last that long. So I provide breaks and kind of just different movements within my routine. We call them brain breaks, where they can get up and they can kind of have that refresher. Sure, I lose 5 to 10 minutes of my instructional time doing it. However, my kids are learning more in the time I am teaching them. So I don't think of it as wasting. I think of it as making the most of the time I have. Because if I talk for 90 minutes straight, I mean, how much are they actually going to absorb before they start like going off into space? So they need that time to kind of rest, recharge, re-engage, and you just establish with your procedures and expectation. They know that this is a break, this is work, and they can differentiate between the two so they know, all right, now we're gonna get back to it, I had my fun, kind of a thing, and they can expect something later on. And I just found it's a good way to break up my classroom, and it really just helps keep my students motivated and listening to me through our instruction. And then the last thing I can offer that as advice that just helps is be consistent. No matter what you decide to do, follow through with it every single time. Always have that expectation, always have that procedure. And I said before in a past video, if they don't follow it and they know it, you have to stop them then and address it at that moment. You can't accept that halfway if you want them to rise to a high bar. So always make sure that they have the expectation, it knows what it looks like, and you're consistent with it. You follow through. That will really make a huge difference into anything you do within the classroom. Probably the most important thing to me as a teacher in my classroom is just loving my students and projecting that and modeling it and letting them know that they're comfortable. Like when they come in the morning and when they leave, as simple as that. Like when they leave, if they want a hug from me, they'll get a hug from me. Like some kids don't want that from you, and that's fine. But if my student comes up to me before the end of the day and they do this, I'm gonna hug them. And I always like to just tell them I love them. I don't feel uncomfortable with that. It's like, give you a hug, I love you, I'll see you tomorrow. Be happy to see them. They pick that from you. And I know I've said it before, but just play with your kids. Listen to them. They'll surprise you and they'll open up to you, and when they do, they have that comfort, and your atmosphere and your climate is more comfortable because it's that relationship between teacher and student. If they know that I'm not going to ridicule them for asking a question, they're not going to be afraid to ask questions. They're going to engage in discussion because there's no wrong answers. We're going to find our way to the right answer, and we're going to discover together. You can't have that if your students are afraid to talk to you and they're afraid to open up. So you need to create that bond with them and just get excited about learning. Show them that you're excited and they're gonna be excited. If I came in and I was like, I hate geology, so I'm not really excited about this class, you think they're gonna pay attention? No. If they raise their hand and they get an answer wrong and I was like, were you even listening? Are they gonna respond again? No, they're gonna shut off. They're gonna be so focused on that moment that nothing else is gonna get in. So always remember, 1, you're the adult. Don't pick fights with a child. 2, just accept them. They're going to say the wrong things. It's not your job to tell them they're wrong. It's your job to teach them. It's your job to encourage them and make them want to be lifelong learners. Model being a learner yourself. I mess up, it's okay. You mess up, it's okay. We're gonna get through it together. And just having that atmosphere and that sense of trust where they know that, hey, I'm gonna be there for them no matter what they need, and I'm gonna help them. They will pick that up from you if you truly believe it and you take the time to get to know them. So in close, I just wanted to express that an environment is more than a poster on a wall. An environment is so important to your students. That's what makes them want to come to school. That's what makes them want to engage and learn. So never underestimate it. I feel like sometimes that it's like when you're being observed, it's like, oh, this is just the environment when I just got to show up because I have this on the board and that on the board and they're gonna just check mark it. No, there's so much more to it. And I encourage all of you to really focus on your classroom physical environment, yes, but the atmosphere you create. Always remember to create an atmosphere of love and learning. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.